It is an absolute privilege and an honor for me to be here. This is my first Women's Forum, and it's already been an enriching experience. This is the 11th year of the Rising Talents, and joining me on stage today are our esteemed panelists representing the partners and supporters of the Rising Talents Initiative. These are women leaders who are committed and who have committed over the years to support, guide, and mentor the rising talents, and they will continue to do that at present and in the future. I would like to begin the conversation. The focus of our conversation is going to be on the issues, the themes, and the topics that is impacting the rising talents of today and of the future. So with that, I'd first like to introduce our panelists. We have Angelis Garcia Poveda from Spencer Stuart.
Rekha.
Hello. Isabelle Xoual from Lazard. Amandine Ayrem from Eurazeo. And Amélie Negrière from Lazard.
Hello, Rekha.
Thank you so much for joining me. When we look at the current landscape, whether it's business, society, or economy, we see a lot of disruption. And I'd like to start with you first, Angelis. How should women who are rising in their careers prepare themselves for success in the face of disruption?
So many things to plan for, Rekha. Let me highlight maybe 5 of them. I will start by continuous learning. 20, 30 years ago, change was happening by waves. We would have a lot of change, and then a little time to digest and breathe, and then we would start another wave. That is no longer the case today. Change happens every day, and so learning needs to take that pace and cycle as well. And taking charge of that, being responsible for our own daily learning and development is one very good way to prepare. The best leaders today are already doing that, and it will be even more so for the leaders of tomorrow. And actually, the best are those who do it, but also who actually love it. The second theme I would like to bring is around collaboration. The thing about disruption is it asks us to solve problems that we have never seen. So the likelihood that somebody has the entire answer to one single problem is really low. And there comes the power of collaboration. How do you prepare for that? First, surround yourselves well. And second, create working modes and install tones that invite that collaboration, which also means from time to time being able to share recognition. The third theme would be about your relationship to risk. Allowing yourselves and others to make mistakes, to dare to fail fast, to learn, to correct trajectory. That's going to be really important in an uncertain world. And then 2 more things that will help us prepare for uncertainty. The first one is to really identify and follow your compass. When things get really confusing, that's where you come back and look at what is your personal purpose, your mission, what you really care about. That helps you actually go back on track. And last, but certainly not least, preserve and cherish what I will call your anchors. The more uncertainty around, the more you need a place to go back to seek energy. And I would put in that category things like family, friends, your loved one, but also yourselves, your bodies and minds, and the preservation of that balance and that energy are really key.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned several key points, Angelis, especially learning and collaboration. So when we look at disruption, with disruption comes opportunities, and the opportunities to also bring new skills to the table. So I'd like to understand from you, Isabelle, what are some of the new skills that women who are rising in their careers will be bringing to the economies and societies? What values, what value will they bring, and what will they contribute?
Well, thank you, Rekha. I don't know if, you'll have the chance to actually, meet with the Rising Talent laureates here, nominees, and you'll see that they are already highly educated, They have already achieved a lot in their lives, and on top of that, they are totally proficient in this digital world. So I am not sure we're talking about new skills. I think actually they should bring all the soft skills that, you know, the stereotype of the multitasker woman who can bring to the companies. And what I'm talking about is really, as you said, Angelis, you know, the capacity to keep on learning. And that is important because it's the key to adaptability and to change. I think what is also important is the willingness as women to be result-oriented, to make things happen. And so that is, you know, what they need to nurture in the fact that they need to be bold in making things happen. They need to stand up, and they need to be collaborative, as you mentioned it. And so being all together, stronger, they will, you know, change the world. So being bold. So I'm not talking about new skills. I'm talking about continuous improvement of their lifestyle with this anchor of, you know, having a strong backing from, you know, their, you know, inner circles, some benevolent people, you know, within the organization, and the willingness actually to make and to give purpose to what they are doing in the company. And by doing that, they will definitely change the organization. So it's not really new skills, it's actually all the soft skills that, you know, will make things change. And women, I think, sometimes are bold and more brave than men, and altogether being collaborative, I think they will have an impact. And I'm very optimistic, because when I see the talent that we have identified, and there were many others that could have been on stage, I am actually quite optimistic in their capacity to change.
Thank you, Isabelle. I think that's a fascinating point of view, leveraging on the current skills and continuously learning and building upon that. Now, when we look at successful leaders and their journeys, it's often the advice or the influences that they've had that shapes their careers. In that context, Amandine, I'd like to know from you, what is the single greatest advice that you've received in your career that you'd like to share with us?
First of all, I would like to say, as a Women's Forum child, because since 8 years that I've joined Eurazeo, I've been very lucky to be able to attend the Women's Forum every single year. I feel like this kind of event, gathering so many talented and inspiring women, are the best places to get very insightful advices. So I would all invite you today to very much listen carefully at all the people you will meet. So to answer your question, Rekha, I think that for sure we all agree that there is not one single piece of advice that could be useful in your career and in your personal life, but many ones, depending on, first of all, your nature, your personal situations, but for sure depending on where you stand in your career, because personal development is for sure a dynamic process. But today, if I was to share with you 4 things that I think have been useful for me and that I try to share with my fellow, first of all, the motto of the Women's Forum, for sure, dare. And just like today, daring to be on stage, but related to that, ask, because do not take for granted what you think you deserve. People will not think about you if you don't raise your hands. Second, I would say prioritize, because we are all doers, very engaged women, and we want to do everything, but it's not feasible. So I would say having maximum 5 priorities at a time should be a real max. Then, bouncing on all what you said, Angeles and Isabelle, being curious. In such a moving world, I think we cannot look at the past, and we need to be open-minded. And last but not least, have fun, because when we look at all our rising talents and how committed they are, we see that at the end of the day, it's all about fun.
That's very interesting. So be daring, be curious, prioritize, and have fun. We'll do that. Now, when we look into the future and what's coming, what's on the horizon, leadership is going to play a vital role and is going to impact all our lives. In that context, Amelie, I'd like to understand from you, what is your hope for the future of women's leadership in particular, and how it's going to impact our economies and society?
This is an inspiring question. When I started working 30 years ago, women, in the industry I was working in, women could not wear trousers. And I was basically facing, considerations such as, can I raise a family, or i.e., would I have to give up my careers? So when you look back the last 30 years, things have changed dramatically. Now 5% of the Fortune 500 companies are CEOs. Equal opportunities laws have been passed. Metrics now shows that including women leadership actually brings profitability. And now you have very large institutions, asset managers, who are pushing and calling on companies to implement, women board representation. However, it's pretty clear that unconscious, if not outright bias, are still prevalent in the workplace, and that change in organization have been more, generational, and didn't have the scope and intensity one, could expect. So when it comes to what is the future of women's leadership, I would say that it is where you can redefine what it means to be a leader. Very often we picture leadership with male terminology, or even we figure a male character. So I think it would be, the task of the next generation, probably to work on that. Definitely, the future of women's leadership is where you will implement, where you will be able to implement the inherent values of diversity. And ultimately, it is where women are empowered and where the workplace is fair.
Incredibly profound. Thank you, Amelie. So clearly, it is a journey. It's a journey that generations before have started. And as you said, it's time to accelerate the pace and go full speed forward. Inclusion, diversity, and representation, and changing the narrative and the stereotypes that we see all around us. With that, I want to thank our esteemed panel for sharing their insights with us. And now, I'm delighted to invite on stage our fellow Rising Talents 2018. Please join me in welcoming Vina Ariel, Elsie Boglioli, Lily Chang, Anna Filipova, Gwenelle Hewitt, Pooja Kapoor, Elena Kuruna, Paula Pashore, Shweta Sharma, and Aline Bridgeland.
And a special thanks to Chiara for sure.
Thank you.
It is not. Good morning, everybody. It was not on the program, but I really wanted to congratulate this wonderful promotion of Rising Talent and say how difficult it has been to choose you. And I just wanted to add something. This morning, I saw something that's really very dear to me. One of them, at least, has her husband coming because he's proud of her. And this is, I think, is also a big success.